From season 14, episode 7, Windy Waves. My first attempt, Cloud, was a complete failure, as you can see. Second attempt was a little bit better, Clouds, and there was some learning there, but the eye of the wave just was a struggle. So moving on to the final project, I decided to just nix all the gloss clear, because one of the things I was doing was creating too thick of material, which was causing orange peel, especially when I got to the wave section. So I decided just to make a darker sky with the purples and the dark blues, and then go ahead and get that all dry so that when I started laying down these clouds, I would have a lot more of a, I would say, a gloss-free surface to work on, which was just paint. And what I've learned about the clouds was that the brush that I was using was creating too much of a textured effect. That was the fan brush with the bristle, the hard bristle, and it was just not the right brush for that. So this is a soft nylon angled brush that I'm using, which is helping quite a bit. I still got a long way to go, as I feel like, as far as getting the cloud effect I'm wanting. And because really the less you put on, the more transparent the cloud will look. Right now they're kind of looking okay just because they're more transparent, but you still want that fluffy look without it looking like whipped cream. So this is all this magic that has to happen with product, brush, consistency. All those things kind of come into play, and then just being patient and just building upon building upon building. That's one of the things I realized that it was very helpful. And so what I learned to do is once I get to the point where I kind of blocked out everything and kind of got the colors down that I was hoping for and wanted, especially the lavender base, which will develop as we progress here. But one of the things I finally kind of discovered, kind of by accident, was taking white at the end and just and then dipping the brush into pure lacquer thinner, and then just making a real super transparent type of consistency, which you're seeing right now. I'm laying down, it's almost creating like more of a distant back, and also along the edges of kind of a more transparent look. It's still not that fluffy, cloudy, wispy look I'm looking for, but it's getting there. And now I'm just putting some contact paper down to create my horizon, and then I'm just going to take that same navy blue and the espresso brown for the beach, and just adding that, and no clear, again, no clear, because I wanted this to be thin and so that when I start tackling the wave, it doesn't become a big orange peel mess. I just wanted it to be pure paint. And it worked. The two blended in really well, and I'm just going to add some of the accent waves in the distant horizon ahead of time so I don't have to deal with that later. And the next thing is the big reveal. That's always fun. I'm going to go ahead and do this in, what do you call it, just regular speed. So we can just kind of see the peel back. It's always fun to do that. Kind of like a little opening a present. This is called transfer paper, and it's used in the sign industry. So it's probably might not look familiar to you, but I have rolls of this stuff, and it's a light tack, so it's not ripping the paint off. And we got a nice clean horizon line. Now I'm just going to sketch in the wave with a grease pencil, which will get buried by the paint. But this will indicate where I start the eye of the wave, which is what Bob calls it in his painting. And this is where I'm mixing the colors ahead of time on a piece of wax paper that the way I usually do it, and just starting to build it. I'm sorry about the lighting here. It's not as good as I'd hoped it to be, but I'm going to be spinning the camera around a little bit and That might help with the lighting. But what I thought of doing was similar with the clouds, where that is laying down a solid color and then coming back with a super wet, saturated with lacquer thinner brush and just seeing if I could just model it. It was a very painful process. It was a lot of massaging and going back and forth with color paint. I kept having to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because I really wanted to get it to the place where I felt like where it should be, actually, where it's a good, iridescent greenish glow, and yet it's merging and blending into the water below, because it's really got to keep that, those two factors have to come into play. And so I'm keep adding colors, you know and adding the dark blue and then some of the light eye color, which is a combination of yellow and a super light blue green. And so I'm just going back and forth, back and forth. And then I realized I needed to start creating the wave action too. That needed to happen simultaneously. I couldn't just merge the two and then and come back and try to make the wave formations happen later. It had to all happen at once. So that's part of the process of this. And so you can see I'm still adding more of that eye color, that light yellow color. And so I'm going back and forth, kind of modeling. And now I hit clear. That's where I said, well, I'm going to try clear and see if that helped. And it may have helped a little bit, kind of help merge things a little bit, but I think in the long run, it really didn't help. I think that staying with the combination of adding color and just a little bit of lacquer thinner to kind of keep this dance between all the colors, the dark blue and the lighter blues, going and starting merging and merging and merging and merging. I think that was more the answer than the clear coat. But now I don't know, because I put the clear coat down, so it probably did help to have the clear coat to a degree. And I got it to the point where I felt like, hey, I think this is probably going to work. It's modeled, but it kind of looks oceany at the same time, so it's not really super smooth and soft like in Bob's painting, where he can just smooth everything out so easily with oil paint. It's just not like that. I mean, if I busted out my airbrush, that would be that would do the trick, but I'm trying to do this and figure this out with just spray paint and brushes. And here's the back of the wave, and this basically gets completely buried by the foam, the spray off the wave anyway. So, and I think he pretty much buried his too when he did it. So I kind of think that in the long run, this just kind of became irrelevant. But practice is always fun. Figure out how to do, where it flows over the top of a wave. Now I'm adding the dark navy blue bottom edge, because I wanted to get that shadow edge in there first before I start tackling the foam, just so I can have that as a foundation. And if that gets wet, I can pull that up into the other colors. And then I'm going to do a transition where I'm doing slightly lighter blues, adding gray to it, 'cause I thought gray tone would kind of keep in that foam look. So that's why I added gray to a little bit lighter blue. Now I'm adding a little bit lighter blue with some more gray too. So it's a really gray tone. I don't know if this is helping, but I thought it would be adding more depth to the foam rather than just having white, just because it really, the foam does have a lot of variance and shadow effects, things like that. Now I'm starting to add the white into it, just kind of dabbling it with the fan brush, so it's pretty rough still. And I felt like it was kind of getting a little too bright too fast. So I was just going to go ahead and just do the whole top of the wave and then come back. I knew I was going to come back and do some modeling and some adjusting, things like that. I'm not sure about this foam, the way it looks. Even kind of in his painting, it looks kind of almost like a rope more than like a wave foam, like splashing. But Eh, it is what it is. I'm just kind of gonna follow his look or appearance as best as I can with this technique. So I do come back and try to add some more depth to it and also merge it a little more because it was starting to look a little too choppy to me. It wasn't looking smooth and soft like water. It was kind of looking too rough. And so now I'm doing that same technique where I'm dipping the soft nylon brush in lacquer thinner and seeing what I can soften everything now. It did soften it, but it also started muting it and meshing the colors together. So I had to come back with some brighter white with that same nylon brush. And I felt like now it was starting to go in a direction that I wanted it to go into, starting to look a little bit more foamy. So I was happy with that. And I'm moving on to all the highlighting in the beach below and the water below and all the striations, all the foam streaks that go up into the wave. And that's actually, I felt like for me, that was much easier. This is dipping almost just pure lacquer thinner at this point with just whatever residue white is on there to create a real super transparent, because I didn't want it to be super bright white on the wave. I just wanted it to be a real soft, transparent look. That's what I was trying to go for. Because if you do too white, it starts to look a little too cartoony and doesn't really look like, a painting anymore. It's too strong. And I was pretty happy with that. I think I finally get a liner brush and start doing even more detail with the same exact technique where it's just I dip it in white, but I just super thin the white out with lacquer thinner. I felt like I was digging that pretty good. And then this is just some of the lighter blue because I wanted a little bit more of uh, blue highlighting in the beach. And this is just a lighter blue, but with the same technique, just dipping it in. It is a high content of lacquer thinner. Now it's time for the terrain, the cliff. This is where this is kind of the reward after all the hard work. This is kind of like fun and easy. And so this is just kind of the cool part of just blocking it all and creating all the foreground cool stuff. So I like to do three contour or colors for the terrain. The dark, and this is adding black to that espresso brown, and then this is like a lighter brown, and then I even use a lighter tan for highlighting that. And I kind of like that because it adds super highlights to it, kind of like what we do with the trees and bushes. So I went ahead and did a blow dry on this just so that it wouldn't merge too much with the next color. So this is just a little bit lighter tan color, which adds just a little bit more texture and life and depth and three-dimensional quality to it. And now it's time to tackle those palm trees. That's always fun and easy. I wasn't sure how I was going to pull the leaves off the palm branches, so did a test drive on the fan brush, and it was just like built for palm leaves. So it was like perfect. That was easy. So this is pretty much black because I knew I was going to use extreme contrast with the dark blue sky and the same color for the leaves. I do a little bit of a highlight just to add a little bit more dimension to the trunk of the palm trees. And I think that's just a little bit of kind of a light, it's kind of a light or a medium tan, just blend it in with the black, give it a little more three-dimensional. And then this was just like awesome. It was easy and fun. That fan brush is just perfect because it's such a coarse hair that it creates a perfect palm frond or palm leaf. And then I just following his painting with the leaves. Windy day. All right, time to jump into the foliage. And again, to me, this is the reward for all the other hard stuff. Hard stuff for me was the clouds, definitely. That was hard. That's something I'm going to have to keep working on, trying to figure out how to make them more fluffy and wispy instead of this kind of whipped cream look. And then the water, I think I'm getting better at that. I think this wave was definitely a baptism of fire or water, whichever case may be. But I thought it went well once I got it to where I wanted it to be. I just feel like I should be able to get it there more quickly and more efficiently, and so I'm going to work on that some more too. But for a seascape, my very first one, I thought it went pretty well. This is just the same things that's been going on before. The dark green, lighter green, then highlights. And I sighted on those plants below that's lying on the ground to add some kind of like coral color flowers for a little bit of highlighting. Just add a little bit more color and pop to those. And that about wraps it up for this painting. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you get a chance to do something like this. And here is my final. Bob's, 1,000 times better, and my final. Thanks so much. Take care.